Hello and welcome to this Granny Rectangle Beginners tutorial. This is part of our Beginners Granny Block series, and I hope you enjoy this and learn from the different technique that can be added to a granny square, or I should say just the granny stitch. Our tools today will be our scissors, a tapestry hook, and a size G crochet hook with a bamboo handle. I find them very comfortable. Our yarn is Red Heart Super Saver in the color white. Michael's Impeccable in the color butterscotch. Banna's Choice Lion Brand in the color fern. To begin our tutorial, I encourage you to pull out some yarn that you will need during the process of this. This helps to make it so that you have an even tension and that your stitches come out looking uniform. Here I'm pulling out a little bit of yarn so that I can go ahead and begin my crocheting. To begin our rectangle, we're going to start off with a slip stitch, but we want to make sure that we have enough in our tail so that we can crochet it or cover it as we go along. We do also want to make sure that we have enough so that we can weave the end back so that there's no chance of it slipping out. So I encourage you to have at least 8 inches in your tail before we make our slip knot. To make our slip knot, we're going to wrap it around one finger, kind of like we're doing a magic circle, but this is a little bit different. So go underneath the loop and draw up the loop here and pull everything tight. We're going to let our tail rest and we're going to pull up our working yarn. Our working yarn comes from our skein and it will be fed in, and that's why it's called the working yarn. We're going to go ahead and pull it tight up to the hook, but not so tight that it's too tight. Our pattern calls for 17 chains, so let's start making chains. To hold the chain, the slip knot before we make our chains really helps in making sure that you have an even tension on your sizing of the stitches to the hook. As you notice, I have wrapped the yarn around my hands. Let me show you how I do it. I'm going to take the tail and bring it to my little finger on my crochet hand. Bring the yarn between your ring finger and your little finger. Wrap it around and through the inside of your hands, and then go through your finger, your 2 fingers here, and bring it over. And then turn your hand back. You'll find that the little finger will help control the tension, as well as coming over will help control tension as well. So place the slip knot between your finger, your thumb and your finger, and let's begin our chain stitch. Take the hook and bring the yarn over it and then pull it through. As you notice, I do take the hook and twist it so that the hook will aim down. So let's do that again. Okay, so we have 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And this is what it looks like. Now, when counting chains in a pattern, it will say place the hook in so many chains from the hook. So when counting, do not count the loop on the hook because it is not a completed stitch. You counted the completed stitches that are below the hook. So here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Most patterns call for skipping 2 or 3, but a lot of times, unless somebody has a video or specifies that you count the loop on the hook, in most cases you do not count the loop on the hook. So in this particular tutorial, we are going to learn how to make a single crochet as well as counting chains on our chain stitch or chain length here. So we're going to place a single crochet in the 5th chain from the hook. So do not count the one on the hook. 1, 2, 3, we skip 4, and in this 5th chain we do not have to do any yarn overs because a single crochet is a low stitch. It's not high like the double crochet stitch. Now in your chain you'll notice that there's 3, let me bring it up closer so you can see. There's 3 parts of this chain. I like to pick up 2 of them because sometimes just picking up 1 will cause the stitch to stretch. Sometimes picking up 2 will cause it to stretch, but the chances of stretching is pretty limited. So of the 3, I'm going to skip the first one and place my hook in between the first and the second from the bottom. Okay? And remember to keep your tension in your hand kind of taut. Then yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and we're completing this stitch. You have just created a single crochet and you have skipped 4 chains from the hook. Now we're going to do this a couple more times. So let's chain 2, 1, and 2. And in our pattern we want to skip 2 chains. Now this chain is where we have our 1 completed at. So we want to skip that one. We want to skip this one, has nothing in it, that's 1. This one is number 2. So in our 3rd chain we're going to place another single crochet and go from the bottom up in between the first and the second of that chain. And we're going to draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 that's on the hook. And this is what we have so far. Okay, let's do it again. Chain 1, chain 2. Now can you see how this chain has that single crochet in it? So we're going to skip 1, skip 2, and in the 3rd one we're going to place another single crochet. Alright, I hope you're doing this okay. Remember to keep your tension, because if it's too loose your stitches will be too big. And I don't want you to get frustrated. Crocheting is an enjoyable hobby and it should be relaxing. But as you're beginning, you will learn to control the tension, which is a big factor in the stitch making. So let's do chain 2 again. Here's 1 and here's 2. Now we're going to skip 2 chains as we just did, and in that third chain we're going to place another single crochet. Alright, we should have 3 chains left on the hook. So here, let me show you what we have here. Oops. Okay, you'll see that you have, it looks kind of closed, but when we get back to it, it will open up. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3 spaces, and then we have 3 chains left. All right, what do we do with these last 3 chains, you're wondering? We're going to place a slip stitch because it will be the end of the row and we need some loops. So when you count the 3 chains, you'll notice this one here, where our slip knot is at, is where we're going to place our hook. So insert your hook into that last loop of the chain and draw through a loop. Now, instead of creating any kind of special stitch or anything, we're just going to take that loop and go right through that one that was on the hook. And so here we have like a little circle. The slip stitch can sometimes be the length of a chain stitch, so sometimes you don't want to add a chain and then slip stitch because it just adds more length. So this is what we have so far. This is the base or the foundation of our grannies that we're going to add to create this rectangle block. All right, let's move on. To move up, we're going to chain 3. This chain 3 will be the same height as the double crochet that we're going to be using throughout our granny rectangle. So we're going to pretend that this chain 3 is 1 double crochet. With our tail, I'm going to show you how you can add it as you go around, but save some so that you can weave it back. So let's add our double crochet. Remember to place your finger on top of the loop that's on your hook, wrap it around, and you'll notice right here we have a hole. So we're going to insert the hook into that hole, draw up a loop, and you notice that when I drew up a loop, I also had the tail here as part of the chain stitch. So that'll start covering our tail. So we draw up a loop now and go through the 2 on the hook and the 2 on the hook. Okay, and then slide it over. We're going to add 1 more double crochet. Now keep your tail along the chain stitch that's already there, and it will be covered as the chain stitch is covered. So insert your hook into the hole and pull up a loop, draw a yarn, or pull the yarn through, go through 2 and go through 2. Okay, so we now have the pretend, which is the chain 3 double crochet. So we have 3 right here. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to place 3 more double crochets in the same space. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Chain 2, 1, 2. Now this is not the same as a granny corner. We're going to slide it over. We got 1 more set of double crochets that we need to insert into this end piece right here. So let's do 1 more set of double crochets hold your loop, yarn over into the hole, draw up a loop, go through 2, go through 2. Let's make 2 more double crochets. There's 1, and there's 2. So this is what we have so far. We have 3 on the end. This one will be this right here for this side of the rectangle, while the 2 here will be the ones that go down each side. Chain 2. Now we're going to skip the single crochet and in this stitch, this chain stitch that the single crochet took on the other side of the chain stitch. You'll notice that we have a hole here of where we skipped 2 chains from the beginning. So let's place our 3 double crochets here. Carry your tail across with you, yarn over into that chain 2 open space. Let's place 3 double crochets. Here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. And it'll stop right here where our single crochet is on the other side. So in between the 2 single crochets is where our 3 double crochets is going to go. To add the space that we need, we're going to chain 2. Now I'm going to drop my tail because I'm going to use what's left of my tail to weave back later, and I'll show you how to do that later. So we're going to skip this single crochet, and in our chain 2 space we're going to add 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to chain 2. And here we have our last chain 2 space. So we're going to add the 3 double crochets again. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Of the 3 on the end, 1 is for this side, 1 is for this side, and 1 is for the bottom. So you should have 4 grannies on this one side, and 1 here, and 1 here. Now we're going to add the end as we did on this side over here. Now before you get in there, you want to separate your chains, and you can see how the chains look. So try not to stretch stitching out, but trying to make it so that the stitching goes where the stitching belongs. Okay, so there we have a hole. Once you place your first one in there, it'll go just fine. So yarn over and into that hole where our chain of 4 skipped stitches are. We're going to place our first double crochet, and let's slide it down. Now 2 more. There's 1, and here's 2. Let's chain 2, and let's slide it down so that we have an equal amount of space for the next 2 that we need to add on. 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now you'll notice that as I create these stitches, my fingers bounce back and forth to hold the bottom of the stitches so that I can help maintain the tension as I go up. Chain 2. Notice how I'm grabbing at the top of the stitches so I can go up with that chain. Now I'm going to slide my stitches over, and we have this little space left for the next 3 on the end of our rectangle here. So here's 1 double crochet, there's 2, and here's 3. Chain 2. So this is what we have so far. Once we get to the end of the row, we'll straighten everything out. Let's continue on. You'll notice that in this space, which is directly across from our grannies from the previous, or from the side, the other side I should say, it's not a previous row, we're all on the same row. We're going to place 3 grannies here. So here's 1, here's 2, and 3. Chain 2. And we have 2 spaces left. Go ahead and add those 2, and I'll meet you to show you how to finish this particular row. So how did you do? I'm sure you did very well. Let's go ahead and straighten this out a little. Just tug and pull, tug and pull. Okay, tug and pull. And it's okay to tug and pull. Okay, so to close off this row, we are not going to add a chain 2 or a chain 1. To finish this row, we're going to use a half double crochet. So place your finger on the loop, yarn over, and count to the top of that 3rd chain. We got 1, 2, and 3. Insert your hook, picking up 2 parts of that chain, draw up a loop, and then yarn over and through all 3. As we move up to our 2nd row, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to place 2 double crochets on top of that half double crochet that we created. This will be our foundation for our double crochets. So hold your loop, yarn over, and through that space draw up a loop, yarn through 2, yarn through 2. We're going to do it one more time. And then chain 2. In our next, this will be our corner. So we're going to be making our corners different than what we did with our square or with our triangle. So we're going to place our first granny right here. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and in this same space we're going to slide it down. We're going to place our second granny. If in case you have not seen my previous videos, a granny is normally known as a set or a group of 3 double crochets together that are usually made to look like a group of grannies. But that's what it is. It's just a set of 2 or 3, or a group of 3 double crochets together, and it's usually universally known as a granny. So after we've created this one corner, we're going to create our second corner, because our rectangle is going to be long this way but short this way. So in the next chain 2 space, we're going to place our 2 grannies, but to get there we need to chain 2 first. 1, 2. So let's place our 2 grannies right here. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and slide your double crochets over, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2. Now you notice that I'm tugging on my yarn because I'm at my skein again. So as I suggest, pull some yarn out, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 feet of yarn, because we still have some more stitching to do, and that makes it easier to keep your tension more uniform. But this is what we have, whoops, so far. Now you notice that as we go down this side, we have a lot of spaces. This is where our next set of grannies will be going. So we will have 1, 2, 3, and 4 granny going down there. So let's begin. I will go at my regular speed. So here's, you can pause this video if I am going a little too fast, but I try to make it so that it is slow enough for you as well. Here I've done my second granny, chain 2 between your grannies, and now I'm on my third. There's 1, 2, and 3, chain 2. I have 1 more left. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to add the chain 2. Okay, so this is what we have. Now if you need to stretch it, that's okay. That's the beauty of crochet. We place all these nice stitches in and we're like, oh my gosh, what happened here? Okay, so that's what we have so far. We did our corner here. Here's our other corner. And now here we're going down the length of our rectangle. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now this one's in our corner, but this is not row 5. This is row 2, because from our center we count out 1 and 2. So of our 3 that are at the end, you'll see that we have hole 1 and hole 2. These are both our corners. So we're going to add our corner granny. So we'll place 2 grannies in this one spot. So here's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and chain 2. Let's slide it over, and one more granny. There's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. As you notice, most grannies have a separation. Some have chain 2, chain 1, chain 3. I prefer chain 2 because it works the best for me. So here we are on our other side of our rectangle going down. So here's our corner. Let's place our 2 grannies in there. Chain 2, slide your work over. Here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3, and chain 2. Let's show you what you have. Don't forget to stretch your work out a little bit. We're almost completed with this row. We have 1, 2, and 3 grannies left for this side. Go ahead and complete those. Remember to place chain 2 in between the 3 double crochets, and I will meet you here and we will change our color then. I know you did wonderfully. So let's complete this particular row. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, insert the hook, draw up a loop, and the loop that you just drawed up, go through the other loop that was on the hook, and we've completed that. Go ahead and cut yourself a tail so we can weave it in later. And here we go. Our first 2 rows completed. Let's start eliminating some tails. So the one that we have for the center, let's go ahead and weave that one in. Place your yarn between your 4 fingers like that. Bring it up, squeeze it at the bottom of the needle, and work that folded section of the needle through the eye. Now, since we did crochet over some of these already, we're out here at the end of our 3 double crochet. Go over 1 and then through the center of the rest until we hit down towards the center and pull that through. Okay, and then go over 1 and through the rest, and that'll lock it right in. Moving on to our next color we're going to be using for this tutorial, I'm going to use yellow. So with a tail, let's place our slip knot. We can do it by finger or we can do it by hook. Was that simple or what? So go ahead and place your hook inside the loop and draw it tight. And place the yarn on your hook, on your fingers, and let's pick up a corner. It doesn't matter which corner, any corner will do. And we're going to draw up a loop and then take that drawn loop through the loop that was on the hook. Tighten it down and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And since we've already designated this as our corner, So for our diagonals to continue, in this space we're going to be placing 2 grannies. The chain 3 counts as a double crochet, so let's place 2 more. Chain 2. Slide your doubles over and place 3 more doubles in that chain 2 corner space. Chain 2. Alright, and the same as if we were doing our square, we have an open space here. We're going to add 1 granny in this space. So 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. Okay, now as I suggested before, it's time to pull the yarn out. So pull enough yarn out so you can complete some rows here without it getting tangled and your tension being off. And so here we are at our second corner, which are 2 grannies in our chain 2 space. So let's place 2 grannies in this chain 2 space. I say that a lot, don't I? Chain 2 space. Okay, 3 double crochets, slide them over, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Chain 2. Okay. Now, to complete the rest of the way around, I believe that you can do it. We have our chain 2 spaces where we will place 1 granny per space. When you get down here to the end, right here, you'll see you got your 2. Place 2 grannies and be sure to place your chain 2 between the 2 grannies. You'll have 1 as you have here, and then you'll have your corner again. I will meet you here after you've completed this side and this side and this side, and I'll show you how to move on up to the next row with the same color. I know you did great. So here I am at the end of the row, and I'm sure you're there too. Let's move on to complete this row. Now if you remember, in the white we did a half double crochet, so yes, we're going to be doing that too. And into the top chain of the 3rd chain we're going to draw up a loop, and then we'll go through all 3 loops on the hook. Okay, and that'll complete that row. To continue on, we're going to build up. We need to chain 3. And covering over that half double crochet, 2 double crochets. 1, 2, chain 2. And here we are at our corner. Can you see our diagonal? 2 grannies in this corner. 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, slide it over, 3 double crochets. Chain 2. Now on this side of the rectangle we have increased our size. So we have one space and another one space. So going in this direction, we're starting to widen, as well as this side, we're starting to lengthen. So place a granny here and a granny here, which will mean 2 grannies, 1 in each space. Chain 2. We got 3 that we're going to place here, 2, 3, chain 2. And in our second one, we're going to place another 3 set double crochets. I'm starting to get tongue twisted with the grannies and the double crochets. Okay, and here we are at our corner again. You can see the doubles go all the way down. So chain 2, and in this corner, you're going to do 2 grannies. I'm going to stop right there and let you go all the way around. So we built up with a chain 3 and placed the 2 double crochets on top of that half double crochet that we used instead of chain 2. We got our corner granny, we got 2 single grannies. Now we have a corner, and we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single grannies, all with 3 double crochets and chain 2 in between. Here's our corner, here's our corner, and we're going to have the 2 as we have here. Go all the way around, and I'll meet you here. We got one more row that will complete it, and we're only going to use one color for that last row. At the end of this row, we're going to chain 1, and at the top of the chain 3, we're going to slip stitch. Cut with the tail, and then pull it through. And here we go. Let's move on. We've got one more round to do, and we have then we'll be complete on this rectangle block. For our last row of our tutorial, we're going to be using green. And I'm going to be starting in the corner as I did with the yellow. I'm not going to go too much into detail about this because we have done this quite a few times. So start with a slip stitch onto your slip knot, chain 3, and in our corner add 2 grannies, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets in the corner. You'll notice that as we have gotten bigger with this particular rectangle, we have added more as we went around. Okay, so this row, instead of adding 2, we're going to add 3 singles in between our corners on the short end, and then on the long end we're going to be adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so to shorten our video on this, because I feel that you have been watching 1 and 2, so for this video I'm going to shorten it down. This row, go ahead and complete by yourself, and I'll meet you at the end. Here is the final look of this row for our rectangle. Let's finish it off. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Insert the hook, pull up a loop and take that loop and continue with the one that was on your hook. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and cut with our tail, and then we're going to pull it through. And here we have our completed granny rectangle. I do have a few ends that I need to weave in. Be sure to weave in all your ends. Going through, I usually choose a corner. I'll work it to the corner because there's more to weave in there. So, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying these crochet videos in this granny series. I hope to see you again sometime. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.